Okay, we're back with Donna Matthews. Again, thank you for joining us this afternoon. If you were to describe yourself as an animal, what animal would you be? And then the second part of that is, how would this animal survive and thrive in the jungle of public education?
If I was to describe myself as an animal, I'm not sure that I could do that, but I will say exactly what came to my mind. I thought of an elephant. I guess I would survive by just kind of plodding my way through. Big trunk, long trunk, maybe. Kind of think of myself a little bit. I think elephants are very, even though they're very large, they're very compassionate, and I just like them. So I guess it would be an elephant.
Okay, all right. Certainly there has been a huge increase in the use of data in our schools today. And how does data affect your role as a supervisor of instructional programs?
Data is what we are all about. Now, I don't like to separate the data from the child, and I do believe very strongly in the use of data. I think what happens is you can use data to say just about anything you want it to say. So we work very hard in the schools to look very closely at what we're measuring and be sure that we are not measuring just to measure. We use benchmark data. I do correlation studies to see how the children are progressing. I'm very adamant about I don't want children tested or over-tested over issues that have no bearing with what they're learning. So we make sure that our benchmark tests do address what we're trying to teach them through the SOLs and even a step beyond that. So data is something I work with all the time, and so do the principals within the schools. We have data meetings at the central office. We go over how the children are doing, and we make our projections and our plans based upon that data.
You mentioned SOLs.
Yes.
What is your honest opinion of SOLs and the high-stakes testing associated with them?
I believe SOLs are important. I really believe we need accountability. And I think the accountability factor is one of the things that has really been a plus for education. I do think, though, you have those children that have difficult times with some of those minimum standards. I am not in favor of the changes that we've made through the VGLA and the VAP and the VMAST, which are some of the other tests that go along with the standardized testing plan for Virginia. And I feel like we've kind of gotten off a little bit on those, and it makes it very difficult for some of those children to show what they've learned when you can only have a certain percent of children tested. But I do believe in the accountability, and I think that we needed something in education that made us a little bit more accountable. Now, I think when you start talking about the high-stakes testing, I think they are becoming more high stakes now. They had leveled off, and now with the new changes in the math SOLs, we're going to go through that again. I just wish that we could embrace this change a little bit more openly and share our information with other schools more frequently than what we do. Region 8 works pretty well at that, but we do need to share with some of the Henricos and Chesterfield schools that have more resources than we have so that we can share some of their information, their skills, their benchmark tests, so we can help our children a little bit more. I do believe in SOLs.
What do you say to the critics who suggest that it has led to teaching to the test and limiting the creativity of classroom teachers? I mean, you hear so many comments, not only from the public, but from teachers as well, who say that they're really challenged and limited now in what they do in the classroom by the implementation of SOLs and SOL testing.
I personally don't feel like it's the test that limits the instruction in the classroom. I think lots of times it's the teacher that limits the instruction in the classroom. And I think as long as you are open and creative, we can find ways to bridge those gaps. And some of our best teachers go much further than the mere SOLs. They are just a minimum standard. And I think by incorporating them, using a lot of project-based learning, a lot of activities, having children work together in teams is the way that bridges that gap. And I just believe you can do it if you set your mind to it.
Okay. Reflecting on your career path, is there something that you would like to change?
No, I have been very blessed, very blessed. I had years of being a classroom teacher, being in, as they call it, the ditches and the, seeing how things happen there. I absolutely loved it. I became a guidance counselor. I loved that. It gave me another whole perspective on students and how the pieces of parents and students all fit together in the puzzle. Then from there, I did director of instruction. I've done director of SPED, I've done middle school, principalship, primary, and elementary. And every one of those areas led to what I'm doing now. And I just don't think I would be as complete as I am now. And I have a lot of challenges ahead of me, a lot more that I need to learn, but I feel like that has been a real blessing for me.
And what's the next step in the career path?
Well, I'm hoping to take on a position as an assistant superintendent at some point in the next 5 years. And I'd like to work a little bit out of instruction for a change and kind of see what the other side is, maybe some human resources, maybe program other areas within the school system, and buses and transportation, that type of thing, to kind of get a more well-rounded kind of idea of how things work, and then possibly go into higher ed.
What about the superintendency?
You saw me take a deep breath on that one. Yeah, that's a whole lot to bite off, and at this point, I'm probably not quite ready for that. But at this point, I would not say that it would not be in my future.
You won't rule it out.
I won't rule it out.
Okay.
No.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed the
appreciate
interview.
it.